Welcome to the Thomas Playbook. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Timers Playbook. Thank you so much for making it all the way to Season 3. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, please refer back to Season 1 and Season 2. So basically, I started this podcast a couple of years ago when I got retrenched due to COVID-19. I had a bit of time on my hands and I decided, let me just record my experiences and talk to other people that had been affected by COVID-19. Now, these people could have lost their jobs, family members, livelihoods, money's gone, cars, all that sort of stuff. And it quickly evolved then into talking to other fathers, as I'm a father of two young boys, 5 and 3, and to see how they were surviving COVID-19. So it's challenging enough to lose your income as a father, and then you have to deal with everything else that comes with it, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, and otherwise. So we started forming this little community, and now we're all the way to Season 3, and we keep continuing. Season 3 is going to start off with Youth Month. It is currently Youth Month in South Africa in June, and I decided then, let me talk to young people as opposed to just focusing on fathers for this month. Simply because the conversation around the country will be centered around young people. But also I do mentor young boys because I think it's important that as a father, as a man, that I pay it forward, right? And ensure that the next generation, myself included, become better people through interaction, through talking, and just basically try and have a different lens into how we were brought up. And how can we just be better people, man, because to be honest, the boy child does get neglected, and it's almost like they'll just sort it out on their own with no help and no guidance. So myself and a few other guys mentor young boys, and we just learn from each other, man, and just try to be better people. And for the first episode, I'm going to be chatting to a young man that I've known for a few years now. His name is Andile. Andile just recently dropped out of university. So as you can imagine, he is going through the most. And we decided to just have a chat about it, see how he's feeling, and not just about the dropping out of school, but just his general sense of South Africa and the world, and if he sees a future in the country and in education himself, because he is disgruntled about education, about where the country is, and hence he dropped out. So right now he is in between things. He's taken a gap year, and I think it's a good place to start. He's 20 years old, and just have a chat and see where he's at, and that's what we're off to do. So welcome to Season 3 of the Timers Playbook. Thank you so much for streaming. I appreciate every bit of support and every bit of data that you use to listen to us. We are in Soweto, which is best for me because this is where my entire family is. It's just easy to get to, and we're just chilling outside, and it reminds me of how it was when I was young tall. You just sit outside and blow and have a conversation, and this is what we'll be doing. So you'll hear sounds, taxis moving past, and people going up and down, which is, I think, is great ambience in J just for the podcast itself. And here is my chat with Andile Tshabalala. Welcome to the Timers Playbook. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored that I was the person that you chose to have this interview with. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Andile is one of the young people that I mentor. I actually just met you by chance, right?
Yeah, by chance. It was random.
Yeah, came to your school and we clicked, and it's been a few years now that we've known each other.
Yeah.
So just give us a quick intro into who you are and where you are right now in your life.
Okay, so as it's been mentioned, my name is Andile Tshabalala. Right now I am taking a gap year. I was in UCT last year, but I experienced some difficulties, and today I think I just realized that it's okay to take a break, recenter myself, and restart again. So that's what I'm doing, collecting myself during the course of this year, and then I'll be back in my studies next year. So as of the moment, just a guy.
Just a guy. Tell me about this break. Why did you take a break? What do you mean? What happened in Cape Town?
Okay, so the main problem is that I chose the wrong degree.
Okay.
Right? I was studying something that I completely dreaded, man. Obviously, university is not meant to be easy. If it was, then it would be joyous for every one of us. But it's twice as hard if you are dealing with something that you hate doing. Like there's no initiative, there's no motivation that comes from deep inside that like I actually want to do this and I actually want to keep pushing. So that was the main difficulty that I experienced with all the pressures, with all the advice I was getting. It was an issue of me choosing something that I thought would make me money in the long run. Yeah, I was doing it for the money, doing it for, the success and what
Or
I
the
thought.
perceived, right?
Yeah.
So let's do this then. Help me with that, because this is a question I've been having constantly in the podcast, right? How young people have to make decisions for their lives, and the idea of studying itself. Why we need to study, number one.
Yeah.
Is it important? Is it significant? And how do we end up choosing what we choose? So, what did you actually end up choosing, and what informed the idea that this could potentially make you money?
So, the advice I was getting is that go into finance. Go into finance, you will make a lot of money. So, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to study initially was law. But I was told, there's no money in law, don't do law,
Told by whom?
Everyone that I went to advice for,
I
my
didn't tell you
sister.
that.
Yeah, I know you didn't tell me that.
Okay.
I know you didn't tell me that. But at home, that's what they were telling me.
Okay.
My sister, she's in risk management. She works at F&B, so she told me, look, bro, I know lawyers. Lawyers are not making as much money as you think, so rather go into finance. My cousin is also in accounting. Told me the same thing. Like, go for it. Go for finance. Go for the money. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and I ended up doing it, even though I hated maths in school. Like maths was my lowest mark.
Really?
Yeah.
By the way, what's a low for you?
Oh, low is 60%. I'm sorry. Low for me.
Because
yeah.
low for me was standard grade. That's what low means.
Yeah, no, but like I got distinctions for everything else.
Yeah.
But you could see with maths and physics, like it was a battle for me to like even get
And
in
you
those
still
60s.
went into...
And I still, despite that, despite the fact that I hated accounting in school, I was thinking in the long run, I need to make money. I need to.
But
be
why were you
successful.
thinking that though?
Because, man, I think I've always had that pressure coming from where I come from. Life hasn't always been easy. So, yeah, of course I want to make money for myself, for my family, and I want to be successful. But I think recently I've had to, like, reevaluate that because I think it's toxic.
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I won't blame my family for putting pressure on me as well, because obviously they want the best for me, and it's just that maybe I don't think they understand sometimes, Uguti. It's tough dealing with that pressure, like at such a young age, in face to like.
Okay, cool. So I was saying our parents, they give us information based on what they have and what they know and what they think is going to work. Now, just out of curiosity though, when I know you, you were a scholarship to a high school.
Yes.
Was it a scholarship also to UCT?
Yeah, it was.
And what happened to that?
Because of my decision, obviously, to take a gap year, and because of the fact that my marks were not great, they couldn't fund me going forward. That's part of the reason why I decided to take a gap year. I didn't want to put any financial strain on my mother studying a degree that I'm not happy in. So I decided, you know what, there's no rush.
Okay.
Relax.
So are there no repercussions for that? So they don't want their money back?
No.
And you can't... so was it a financial institution? So you
yeah,
can't
it
shift.
is. It is.
Okay.
It is a financial institution, but they're very understanding. Yeah, even with my situation, they were very understanding, you know. But obviously, they need results.
Yeah.
That's one thing we can't run away from. And yeah, in the position I was in, I don't think I could have produced the results that they needed from me.
Okay. So now, I mean, obviously, I don't want to call your school out specifically by name. Ne? I won't just yet.
No.
But we went to the same high school.
Yeah, we did.
And our paths were similar. I was also on I think mine was called a bursary. I still don't know what the difference is between a bursary and a scholarship. In any case, my marks were shit. But that's because I think I had other problems with the school generally. In any case, my challenge with these schools that I notice with you guys, there isn't enough time spent on the understanding of oneself and critical thinking so that when you actually get to a decision, it makes sense for you. Like you're saying now, you spent, I mean, that school right now, they sent me a quote to send my 5-6-year-old kid to that school. They quoted me 80,000 rands, right? Now, 80,000 rands, that's just for high school. I know you, it was 200,000 upwards, plus boarding and so forth.
Yeah.
And you get to matric. All that education hasn't helped you make a decision, the right decision for you. Because there is no time spent on you. Do you feel the same about your education? Was something missing? And is this something that we should incorporate in high schools?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, even when I came into the school, when I came in grade 8, from the jump, my marks were horrible. That's because I didn't have time to adjust to the system that I was in. It was only in grade 10 when I started finding myself and started to think for myself and find ways to study that made my marks better. And yeah, so like that's me finding myself. I had to do that myself. I don't think the education system helps individuals.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very collective thinking. It's like mob mentality, especially as saints, you know, because they teach one way and they think that it works for everyone.
Yeah.
They teach a classroom.
Yeah.
They don't teach individuals. And I just feel that I chose my role models well, as in my mentors, you know. That's why at least I was able to get some advice as to how I should approach making this decision for my future.
Yeah.
You know, at least you were there, you were present. I've had some teachers who also tried. Unfortunately, ultimately at the end of the day, I did choose wrong, but I can't say I didn't have other people that were giving me perspective.
Yeah.
So I think I was fortunate in that sense, but I can't say the same for a lot of my classmates. I think there's a lot of people right now that are still in university right now that are studying something that they don't like, that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's just that mentality of keep pushing, man. I'm almost there. 2 more years, 3 more years, but then it ends up being the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now,
And the question is, where are you going?
exactly.
Right? I mean, when you're doing all of this and you're saying keep, this is crazy because when I was in university, this is the same problem. It almost feels like we've regressed.
Nah?
Particularly, yes, you see what you're saying now? Exactly the same thing. Most of the people I went to school with did not want to study what they were studying. A lot of people dropped out. A lot of people did not finish. And I think I've told you this many times. Most people that I know are not even working in what they studied. So then, which leads me to now start questioning and trying to understand the number one, the need of education or the type of education and what it actually does for you. You know, and it's not to knock it completely. There are places for it where it's important. There is foundational education that needs to be there, you know, but it needs to actually set you up for life to be a functional human being.
Yeah.
Now, what do you make of? Obviously, you don't have a full perspective of everything, but you're what, 19 now?
20, yeah.
20. What do you make of our education system in general terms? And is there anything that you think needs to be changed about it?
So general as in not just my
Just your
private
thoughts.
school.
Not just, you know, from what you're seeing, from what you hear, you know what I mean? So, because now it's Youth Month, so a lot of things are going to come up about education. You guys, towards the end of the year, it's about which university to go to. January, February, everyone is clamoring, trying to get into UJ, trying to get into vets. So you see this all the time. You know, so what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is that we just need to learn more than just what we learn in the classroom. I think I touched on that a little bit as in saying that teachers teach the classroom but not individuals, and I think that's where we are missing it. And another thing that came up with the bursary I was on, the company was very focused on entrepreneurship, right? And I thought to myself, that's something I never learned in school, right? The mentality we get from school is that, okay, I'm gonna finish high school, I'm gonna go to university, finish my degree, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna make a living, I'm gonna die. In that, there's no plans for business. There's no plans to start something of our own. There's no plans to think for ourselves. We're just taught to work for someone for the rest of our lives, make a comfortable living, and that's all that we
But
are
I thought they
taught.
would have.
I would have thought so too. I only
They didn't teach you entrepreneurship, business skills, financial literacy, education. You know,
not at
I'm
all.
not even gonna get into the stuff about self-awareness and that I definitely know they don't.
Of course not.
For real.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, I didn't study business at school, but I'm sure they did touch on that in business only. But it's not something that is taught to the rest of us. We're not taught how to think like that, how to think outside the box. That's why I struggled with my application to this bursary because I didn't have any exposure to entrepreneurship. I didn't know how to think outside the box. So when they were like, look in your community, look at the problems in your community and think of a business that could help uplift your community, I was like, what? I can't even think of anything. And that's why I really struggled with that entire process. And I realized that's something that we were never taught in school. And I hate to put that responsibility on the school because some things we do need to learn for ourselves.
Sure.
We do need to take the initiative and take an interest in these things. But, I mean, we were paying a ridiculous amount to go to that school.
Yeah.
And you would think that that's one of the things we would be taught. That's one of the things that they would push for. But unfortunately, it wasn't. Not that I remember.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else had a different experience, and I'd love to hear that. I'd love to see someone who had that experience, but I didn't.
And again, I say this again. We went to the same school. It's St. Stephen's. Like, there's nothing wrong with the school because it's my experience in yours.
Yeah.
Went to the same school. But again, it's crazy. It's the same experience I had. Right? The same one. And I graduated in 2000. This is like 20 plus years later.
Yeah.
Now, as a 20-year-old that's just gone through one of the top private schools in the country, ne? I'm a father trying to make a decision of where to send my kids to school. What kind of education? So the debate is private schools, right? Single-sex schools. I've got 2 sons, so obviously it'll be boys' schools. But parents are debating, thinking about this. What do you think is the value of sending your kid to a private school?
There is value. I mean,
Okay. No, I'm saying someone who's trying to make the decision, right?
Oh.
So the other fathers are listening. They probably, some of them, a lot of them actually are in the same boat.
Mm.
In your experience, what would you say the value is?
Connections, man. Maybe the way I was talking earlier about like how there are like things that we are missing in these schools may make someone think that I don't like saints or whatnot. That's not the case at all. It's just
No, let's make it
critiques.
clear. I love Saints.
Me too.
Right? We
Yeah.
love Saints.
Yeah.
That's our school. That's where we went
Yes,
to.
yes.
Right? We're breaking down our experiences about the school, good and bad.
Yes.
So that must be clear.
Absolutely.
Sharp.
Yeah, so the one thing that I did appreciate is connections, man, because we met through saints, a lot of people that have had great influence in my life are from saints. The OSA as well, they've helped a lot of my friends who have recently matriculated. they've helped them get jobs at Saints,
Okay.
make some extra money, get experience, So I think the one thing that I value the most is connections. Because even when I went to Cape Town, yeah, of course, I had a bad experience because of my choice in degree. I wasn't happy at all. But the people that I had there that supported me were my friends from Saints.
Okay.
People that didn't even go to UCT. Some went to AFDA, some went to Varsity College, But the fact that they were there and they were present is something that I appreciate. So connections, 100%. If you want your son or your daughter to be set for life, I do say for life.
Yeah.
Then yeah, have them go to Saints, man. The connections that you will get there are extraordinary. I promise that is your money's worth.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Now, as I'm speaking to Andile, I get the sense that he is a little bit confused, although I think he has an idea of what he wants to do with his life, but he can't really articulate it. And I was wondering then, like, when do kids start forming the identity of who they are and what they want to do with their lives? So I was very fortunate that I knew from a very young age what I wanted to do. So this thing that I'm doing with the podcast and everything else is not a mistake. It's things that I've always wanted to do. I mean, I was accepted after I think about grade 11. And then in grade 12, I had a very clear idea that I do want to go to AFDA to make movies. But where Andile and I connect is that I got to AFDA and I had come from this bubble at a private school. I was at boarding and basically everything, all my needs were taken care of, right? Everything I needed, food, bedding, clothes, they will just literally hand it to you. But also it was a very different environment. I get to AFDA, it's this artsy school, everything is different. And I hadn't been in that kind of world before. And to be honest, I didn't know just how to manage it. So very similar to Andile, the thing that I thought I wanted to do with my life, which was make movies, came as a shock. That this is what it looks like. This is what you're going to have to do. But I don't think I was equipped to move from that kind of environment and immediately into university. Because as a young kid, I was mostly sort of like on my own. I didn't have a dad or anybody I could talk to say, yo, these are my challenges. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm going through. So just like Andile, I dropped out within the first term. And I then went to UJ because in my head, I thought that UJ is closer to a school would be like, because there's different people studying different things. But to be honest, also part of what I wanted to do with my life was to understand different things. So AFDA is very focused on what you want to do. So if you want to be a director, you can be a director. And I wanted a more inclusive degree, which I could learn marketing, communication, and so forth. But what I'm trying to explain is Andile and I are very similar and we've walked similar paths. That's why I think that me being his mentor can be very helpful to him, but he can also be helpful to me. In any case, I brought in my wife Utessa and she works with young people a lot. She runs camps. She has this initiative called Youth Nations. And there's a blog, there's a website, there are resources that young people can refer to if they need help, if they need guidance. But she understands this world a bit better. So I brought her in to explain a few things. And we started a conversation about why she started Youth Nations and what it means.
My name is Andile Tshabalala. I am a behavioral specialist. And I started Youth Nations in order to equip young people the necessary emotional development skills so they don't spend their 20s getting over their teens and all the mistakes that they made. Youth Nations is, at best, my favorite passion project. However, it really is a program for preteens and teenagers and young adults to learn about themselves, learn about their bodies, learn about the environment, and create a sense of self and identity. Children are born with an idea of who they think they are. One's identity is pretty much I'd say it's implanted in infancy. It is then explored and defined during early childhood development, and it's quite solid by age 7, 8, 9, who they are. And then they get into the preteen phase where the person they think that they are is now up against a wider scope of society. You finish primary school, you get into high school, you are allowed more freedoms, you have more responsibility, and now your sense of self is pitted against what the world thinks you are or what the world tells you you are. But by the time you reach 14, 15, 16, it's pretty much embedded. It's there. And the older you get, either you reinforce those ideas or you completely negate those ideas, and you spend pretty much your prime adult years doing that swing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you hit like 40, 45, and people say you have a midlife crisis. But that's when you wake up and realize that you had this on lock at 16, and it just doesn't matter anymore. Children are amazing, magical people who already have established who they are quite early. And if you're raised in a supportive, loving, or even not supportive and lack of love environment, there is always this exchange of relationships and affection that if I do this, then they will do that. You know, if I'm a good boy, whatever that means, or I'm a good child, or I'm a good son, or I'm a good daughter, I need to behave in a particular manner so I can receive praise, love, attention, affection from my parents or my family or society or my friends in a particular manner. So you start to engage into this really weird dance that doesn't really exist. However, when you have a very strong sense of self and identity, you realize that your life ultimately is in your own control. And you must sleep with the burden of your responsibilities and your decisions each night. So when you're 18, everybody thinks 18-year-olds don't have responsibilities. And it's probably the most hectic time of one's life. Like when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, the world is asking you consistently, who do you want to become? What do you want to study? You know, in order to be successful or to have money, you need to do very specific type of jobs. Guys, it's 2022. We have influencers who have bank money and they have no official degree in anything. You know, we have, for example, like the Kardashians. It's a lot of hard work to keep up a show for that many seasons. They make a lot of money, but none of them needed to have an official degree to do it. So defining a child's future success on finances is not the best way to go about it. And the youth at this point in time have more at their arsenal to change society, to create an income, to push for their dreams than we ever had. And we had a lot of options. We had more options than our parents. So I'm all supportive of what kids should do, and they should be allowed to do what they want to do. However, you also need to know your child. If your child has spent 6 years not applying themselves to anything, not achieving anything personally, not pushing the boundaries, if they haven't explored failure and success earlier, that decision making with their career needs guidance and advice. You know, and we all know this, especially my generations, like if you're born in the 80s and stuff. 80% of my first year counterparts failed. We all went to school, registered, we're all excited. They took courses, they thought that that's what they wanted to do. 80% failed. Second year became first year, they changed their discipline. 5-6 years later, people have 4 different degrees in 4 specific areas that have nothing to do with each other. And that's what life is. I mean, you'll be an accountant and wake up one day, you decide, actually, you're a creative. And you want to make movies. But you studied accounting because it was going to give you money and stability, and it made your parents happy.
When I was at university, I also got that sense that a lot of people, I guess even to this day, studied and did things just to make their parents happy. Or they just have no idea, man. Like a lot of people struggle with the idea of who they are, what they want to do. And part of this podcast then is how can we get young people to develop that sense of self from a very, very early age, so that at least by the time they need to make decisions, they are equipped, they have the tools. Decisions can go either way, you can't control the outcome, but the least we can do is equip them. Now that we understand a bit about you and your schooling and so forth, I want to get into Youth Month. Ne?
Okay, yeah.
In your final year, I think, was it matric or grade 11? Ne?
Matric.
What was you used to do something around, was it culture? What was your title and what were your responsibilities?
Diversity and transformation.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So, it's basically inter-school relations, right?
Okay.
So...
By the way, everything to do with diversity, even in business nowadays, goes to a black person. Why is that?
Right.
And nowadays, I got it, but it's a black person, generally a woman, if the title has diversity in it.
Exactly. Last year it was a black guy and he's gay.
Yeah. No, so they have to.
They
no,
had
that
to.
you tick all the boxes there.
They
right?
had to. Yeah, they had to.
Okay, cool.
But yeah.
So, part of your duties, ne, I guess in diversity, whatever, is to lead the different conversations.
Absolutely.
And challenge the school to rethink its positioning, particularly in society and where it stands.
Yes.
And you penned a piece a while ago. So I just went back to the school's Instagram page for Youth Day, June 16.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with the quote. It's a quote that you quoted.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, Youth Day, what it should mean to the youth today.
Yes.
You quoted Ellen Bennett. He says, there's no better way of forgetting something than by commemorating it.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Why did you pick that quote?
So, basically, I was trying to find inspiration to write that piece. I can't just wake up and be like, let me write something.
Yeah.
You know, I had to draw it from somewhere. And yeah, I came across that quote. And basically what it means is that we idolize Youth Day, Youth Month, actually. And what he's saying there is basically by idolizing it for that one day or for that 1 month, we forget about it for the rest of the year. For the rest of the year, we're not thinking about the youth. We're not thinking about how to, equip the youth for real life, for adulting, for making difficult decisions, for having difficult conversations. We forget about all that until June comes along. All of a sudden, now we want to focus on the youth and whatnot. And it's the same with every other holiday or any other commemoration, right?
Yeah.
You celebrate it for that one day, then you go about the rest of the year, just forgetting about it. So that's where that came from.
Now, as a 20-year-old in South Africa today, what do you, and again, this is general, what's your opinion of modern day South Africa?
Modern day South Africa.
I know it's a broad question.
So broad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very broad.
Overview. We'll get into details just now.
I think I'm not happy with youth unemployment, and I hate to sound entitled, but unemployment in general is just a huge problem in our country, right? I mean, you can see it here in Soweto. I mean, people just linger about all day. There's barely any opportunities, When I was going in school, I was told that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And it always feels like the people that have the most opportunities afforded to them in this country are people that know someone.
Yeah.
Is
that what it feels like?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think that is? Why do you see it that way?
Because of the way things operate in this modern day society, even for me, I'm fortunate enough to come from a school like Saints. I have the OSA, I have people that I know. So if I wanted to get my foot in the door, I could.
Yeah.
But I can't say the same for some of my friends that grew up here, because they don't have those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have those connections. And so I think it will be a lot more difficult for them to find those opportunities. And yeah, you're asking why I see it that way, because it just is, man. It just is.
You think so?
I believe so. I mean, I'm open to anyone that can prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Show me the facts and be like, no, you are lying.
Yeah.
But I believe that is the way it is.
So are you saying that is that at government level, corporate, or just everywhere?
Everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
It's crazy though, because I mean, part of you is not wrong, but a lot of you is wrong, but part of you isn't wrong, because it is so widely reported, obviously, and in very key positions, particularly in the public sector. It's very clear and evident of such, but it's also because just how the country is run just reflects into just who we are as a people. And a lot of it, I agree with you, it's garbage, it's nonsense, just how things are and how they've been set up. So you spoke about unemployment, right? And it's another thing that's also reported upon. I mean, the quarterly labor stats just came out now. It's always like, 34% unemployment. They always talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's the government's job to find you a job, or young people?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you do depend on the government to get that sort of stuff done for you, then I think that you won't go very far in life. Like I said, we shouldn't be entitled, right? But I do think that they have a role in providing opportunities.
Yeah.
I say the private sector as well. The private sector is key in that, I believe. Just to give people experience, even if it's an internship program that you're doing in your country, developing in your company.
Yeah.
Just to help out, just to make someone else's CV look appealing at least.
Yeah. Do you think personally you have a role to play in that?
Absolutely. I feel like part of it is that we need to be proactive as well. And again, I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
So we need to be proactive in the sense that we need to actually get out there and apply to as many positions as we can, use our connections, people that we know. Anything that you hear of, share it with your friends. Maybe someone else might be interested in something that you've seen. So I think that personally we do play a role in that.
Yeah.
In the sense that we need to be proactive about it. Don't just sit at home, apply for one thing and then be like, no, there's no opportunities in this country.
Yeah.
When you are sitting and just applying for one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'll put it back to you then. I'll rephrase it, put it a different way. I think your generation, right, if there's a lack of something, and particularly because we've had the opportunity to have education that the majority of the population will never ever access, then we should be the ones creating those opportunities, right? Because it's evident, it's very clear that the government is not going to do it. But you're right in the sense that their role is to actually just ensure that there is a foundation to be able to operate in. So simple things need to work. You understand? Healthcare. Like we're here at your grandmother's house and I hear that electricity's been out since Tuesday, right? It's Saturday today.
Yeah.
We've been having rolling blackouts. It's back to load shedding again. And it's winter in the country, right? So it's a problem. People are cold. Eskom has not been working for a minute. And these are basics, right?
Very basic.
Make sure electricity runs. I'm sitting here by your street. I don't know how long that water's been running. The sewage has been off, right?
Yeah.
But this is normal. If I go to my mother's house up the road, it's normal, particularly in townships and so forth.
Absolutely.
So that's their role. right? At municipal level, at government level, at national level, provincial, healthcare, electricity. There's an
Basics.
environment for business. Those are the basics.
Yeah.
I will agree with you that if the basics aren't sorted, it's even difficult, bro. You know, like if the sewage running, why would a young person be like, okay, sharp, I need to do something? Yeah, well, it makes the environment just difficult, and it just makes whatever problems we have worse.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying we all have to find our own place and niche in the world where we can be like, okay, cool, here I can contribute. You see? So my whole thing is, with the podcast, at least then let's have important conversations.
Absolutely.
Let's then action the right things from those conversations. Some other people are really good at protesting, right? Some people can get in the streets and do that. We need that. Some people are good at lobbying and getting into the political sphere. Right? I can't stand like political meetings, but some people are built like that.
Yeah.
You know, they can do that.
Yeah.
So at that level, they're able to do that. Some people can do it in corporate. Some people do it as part of NGOs and so forth. So collectively, I think it's possible. You know?
Yeah.
And I really want to have a not positive, but I think things can be sorted if collectively we actually action stuff. You know? Because I think you can fix the stuff, because the government is the people. Right?
It is.
But that's a different conversation, because I have issues with the idea of government itself.
Yeah.
Not just who's in government, but the idea that we've allowed a group of people to make decisions for us.
The whole country.
Worlds, right? And it's evident
Yeah.
they can't do it effectively.
No, not at all.
So what do you think then are other things that, besides unemployment, that are facing young people that urgently need to be addressed?
There's a lot, man. Gender-based violence is something that I've seen a lot of as well.
Yeah.
Like girls my age afraid to, do basic things like walk around their neighborhood, catch an Uber at night, get home safely. Think it's a very scary time for women in this country. And also, I like the fact that this podcast is for like fathers and whatnot, because a lot of my friends that I've seen don't have good role models, good father figures in their lives. And I think those are like some of the things that could shape young men into making like better decisions, being better people in life. I mean, you could argue that fathers are not needed in a household, but I don't think so. I think that it's nice to have a male figure that can show you how to navigate this life thing, how to make women feel safe and comfortable around you. And I think it's just a shame, man, that girls have to send their live location whenever they're in an Uber, because they're afraid, man. They're afraid.
And what conversations are you guys having around that? Like when you talk to your mates, do they feel the same? Are they aware? Because I mean, I've been in the same environment as you, and some of the things when I was being complicit, just even in the language at that time, I didn't know. Right?
Yeah,
it was normal. So did you guys got into situations, particularly when things are heightened, right? Things are heightened generally, unfortunately, when there's a woman that gets killed or abused and it's in the newspapers, right? What conversations are you guys having collectively, just not without teachers or anything, just as a machi, Tanji?
I mean, I have my people, right? But different people approach it differently. So I have people that I can talk to about it and engage them properly, talk about what we can do, like small things that we can do to make women feel more comfortable around us whenever they're in our space and whatnot. But there's just some guys that don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's not their problem. If I'm not a woman, what's the issue? If I'm not gonna get raped, or if I don't know someone who's ever been raped or faced any sort of sexual assault or abuse in general, they just don't care. It's just certain things. If they don't affect you directly, or if they don't affect someone that you know directly, they just don't care about it. It's not like they don't know. It's not ignorance.
Yeah.
Because they know what's happening. They just don't care because it doesn't affect them.
Yeah, because the problem is not right there, right? Because it's
Yeah,
not your sister.
it's not there.
Because that would be different. These are the same people that would go out of your way to go protect their sister if it was directly there.
Absolutely, yeah. If it was close to home, they would, they would be doing whatever was in their power to stop it from ever happening again. But just because it's someone that you saw on the news or you saw on Instagram, we are very desensitized because it's in the media.
Yeah.
It's far away from you.
Okay.
So why should I care? Is the mentality they have.
Okay, wow. So the other thing then is that's also in the media reported a lot is that men are complicit, right? Men are the problem because of how we talk amongst the men who are toxic. There's a term called toxic masculinity.
Yeah. Heard that a lot in mature, dog.
What's your take on that?
I think it's there. It's a real thing, man. Especially in the spaces that we find ourselves in. Like, in my personal experience, it was in an old boys' school, dog.
Yeah.
The way those
Tell me
guys
about it.
talked about girls, like they talked about women like they were objects. You know what I'm saying? Dog, do you see me grip that hand, and things like that? You know what I'm saying? It was a toxic environment. Also because there were no women around in our spaces. The only women we saw were our teachers.
Yeah.
So whenever we are around girls, basically our job is to mac on them and make sure that you pulled 2-3 hands that day. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think if we had girls in our classroom or just it was a co-ed school, things would be different?
Things would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they would be better and all our issues would be solved, but at least then we'd know how to interact with women. We know what it's like to have women in our space. Now the only time we saw women was when we go out. And you have to go out and pull 3 girls that weekend so you can come back and Sunday at dinner and tell the gents, hey, to this weekend,
because the whole week
down.
It's nothing.
You see what I'm saying?
Sorry, Gagnane, just digress. So was it still this? Because I remember, like back in high school, if you're going to a social, right, or something like that, or house party, whatever it is, that's going to include women, girls, it's a thing, right? And particularly if you're going to social, like at a girls' school, like I don't know if you guys still have socials or whatever. So is it still like that, or was it like that when you were there?
Absolutely, absolutely, it is, and it's ingrained in our culture. It's something that we're taught from grade 8. So in grade 8, we had a social for us to just be acquainted with the other grade 8 girls.
Okay.
So it was us grade 8 boys meeting with the grade 8 girls for the first time, right? And the first thing our matrix told us is you must go there and get 10 phone numbers.
Really?
Yeah, 10 phone numbers or else...
In the social?
Yeah.
The first one?
Yeah, or else there'll be punishments, like you'll do push-ups or some random punishment. It starts there. It starts from when we are young, and then in matric there's what we call a ladder challenge.
Okay.
Right? The ladder challenge is you get with a matric girl, a grade 11 girl, a grade 10 girl, grade 9 girl, grade 8 girl.
Are you allowed to reveal these things?
I don't know if I am, bro, but
okay. What is that ladder? But what do you mean? How far? Like, what do you have to do?
You have
when you
to
say get with.
Get with, I just mean, I could even be like a kiss.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, as long as there's some sort of intimacy.
Okay. Or something that you can account for.
Something that you can account for. Wow. And it's just, I don't agree with some of those things, but they were there. Ingrained, in the culture.
Okay, I don't know any of those things. So I'm thinking now that you mention it, like in grade 8, I'm thinking about myself when I go to Saints, right? I was a chubby kid. I could barely speak English. It's a new environment. Young, tall. Like, now it's that you've been pitted against other young men now.
Yeah.
To try to win something that involves women.
Exactly. It seems like a competition.
It is a competition because you have to, right? But also, you're going to get rejected.
Of course.
And that's going to now imprint something in how you relate to women going into the future. Like, that thing is a problem.
It is.
And you get punished if you don't get it. Because women should be giving you the number because they want to.
Exactly.
Not because there's some dumb fucking challenge.
Of course. And then they'll compare you to your other mates in the house. They'll
Of course.
be like, this guy got 15 numbers. You could barely get 5. What is your problem? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then now you start doubting yourself and whatnot. It's self-esteem
So
issues.
it's all these things now that...
It's all these little things.
Yeah. You know?
And you grow up with them as you go along.
Oh, so your problems are the same as ours, but different now.
Yeah.
It's different. And in high school specifically, or people your age, another thing that's been reported on a lot is mental health, particularly around men or young men.
Yeah.
Is it something that you were acutely aware of? And do you think then these sort of things, right? Because there's pressure. It's not just girls, right? There's pressure to look good. There's pressure to perform on the field. There's pressure to choose a sport. There's pressure to do this, do that. And this is all just within your guys' environment. Do you think then these are like conditions for mental problems and confidence and so forth?
Absolutely, man. It's just an unspoken culture, especially in boys' schools, you know. Even in the boarding house. Right, so I don't know. I think you probably did experience it, but like the abuse in the boarding house, it was quite bad.
No, I was proper abuse.
And then there's the snitch culture as well.
Oh, there's a snitch culture now.
Yeah. So if you're a snitch, now everyone hates you.
Yeah.
Right. If you speak out about the things that are happening, you know, you are isolated completely from everyone, from all your friends, and we also. Like, this thing is ingrained into us. Like I said, it's ingrained into the culture. So I had a friend, right? We were all abused, like, in the boarding house. But I had a friend who spoke out and told his mother what's happening, right? Told teachers what's happening.
So before, because remember also, now let's be clear, when you're saying abuse, what kind of abuse are you talking
Oh,
about?
I'm talking about the seniors coming into our rooms late at night and then just...
So mental, physical.
Physical, yeah. Physical abuse. Obviously, there's... the emotional abuse as well, where they tell you that, like, there's a hierarchy and you are nothing at the moment. You're in grade 8, you are nothing. We'll send you around. You just, you know, that's all you are.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, as soon as you speak out and then they find out, everyone isolates you. Right? Even us, his friends, we were like his friends, his closest friends. Even us, we started to look at him differently.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're saying this guy, what grade was he in at that time?
grade 8. We were all in grade 8.
Oh, he went to tell his mom. So this is about is it about the dance or the initiation? Just
the initiations, them beating us up and whatnot. That's when he spoke out. He's like, yo, can't deal with this.
This blows my mind, right? You know why? Because I remember also in grade 8, I think this kid's name was Barrett or something. Sensitive kid. Same thing. Now, our initiation was not going to get numbers. It was running, it was being beaten, because corporal punishment was still there when I started, right? So I absolutely hated St. Stadiums when I got there in Standard 6. In fact, I think I hated it all throughout my career there. He did the same thing. He never came back. I don't think he lasted the year. But what was blowing my mind again, this is the same shit that happened 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Like exactly the same shit, just different scenarios. Are we regressing as a people? So if you're sitting here, you are 20 years old, I'm 39 years old, but our experiences are almost identical.
Yeah. No, I mean, we tried to change it when we got to matric.
Okay.
So we didn't beat our juniors or anything like that, because we knew what it was like. Like, it got to the point where we despised our time in the boarding house, and we didn't want anyone to ever feel like that again.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe things have gone back to the way they were since we've left or whatnot, but I can say when we were in matric, we didn't do those things. Obviously, there's still the little things, like seniors can send grade 8s or 9s and be like, go get my bag, go get me juice. Those things, I think, are a part of the culture, and some of those things will never change. But the abuse, I can say that we tried to do our little bit to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad that you guys actively try to change it. And I suppose you're in matric now, right? So you also have a bit more leverage and power to do that. So you won't really be ostracized. Plus also you're head of diversity, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like your job.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, man. Wow, that's so interesting. Ne? It really does boggle my mind. I think you can hear in the episode, I can't get over the similarities in experience between Andile and I, particularly in high school. It's like it's almost as if nothing has changed. But then again, we haven't evolved much as a species, right? So our decisions are still based primarily on survival and fear. And these things that we bring from our past experiences, things that have hurt us, our fears, we pass on to younger generations. So I brought Tessa back, and I just want her to give us parents that are listening to this podcast the top 3 things that parents can action today, particularly if they've got young children, that can help their kids in future. So top 3 tools, hacks, because that's what we're about. Here's Tessa.
From a parenting point of view, there are there's a lot, but there's 3 key things that parents need to be cognizant of and participate in the raising and education of your child. Teach your children physiology, like proper biology, like what is going on with your body. The hormones, the growth, the emotional mood swings. We've all heard about people who complain about teenagers and whatnot, but what you see in a teenager is what you're paying attention to because now he's your size. But that starts quite early. The emotional and hormonal swing back and forth starts like at 6, 7. We all still think it's cute. It grows at 8, 9, 10. And people are like, oh, she's cheeky. Or she's what. And then by the time you're a teenager, you're out of hand. But it's the same thing. And if you don't understand the physiological development and how it affects your child's growth, it impacts on who they think they are and what is going on with them. Because they don't know either. And no one's telling them that what they're feeling is normal. You'll be very happy today and tomorrow you want to break everything. Physiology, that needs to be taught to kids a lot at home because it's not happening at school anymore. The second thing is how that impacts your emotions. A lot of adults don't know how to manage their own emotions. And I don't see how they could be helping manage their children's emotions. Because emotions are passing and they're fleeting. It's not a consistent definition of who somebody is. You can go through 10 emotions in one day and all of them are true. Now, it's worse when they're influenced by your hormones and your changes. So teach kids the right things about emotions. Emotions are guides. You're feeling some type of way right now because something in your head has given you a sense of right and wrong, good or bad, about a particular situation. And your feelings are alerting you to focus on that to see if that actually works or it doesn't work. So emotional intelligence training and education is key. And the third, and I think the most important, is responsibility. Children need to learn responsibility as soon as possible. When they're young, they need to learn how to make their beds, get dressed, go to the bathroom, brush their teeth, comb their hair, and how to put on the clothes. And I'm speaking 2, 3, 4, 5, that young. Don't dress your kids. They're responsible for the toys they play with. When they're finished, they must put them away. And as they grow and show interest, like now my sons wanted to learn about cooking. So it's my responsibility to teach them how to do so safely. And as they grow, you pile on the responsibility. Then you won't have adults, you have problems within their 20s. People are responsible for their lives, their actions, and the outcome of those actions. And that training starts very early. But it's never too late to actually begin it once you realize, I pretty much gave my kid a free ride. Those are the top 3 things for me. It needs to be noted that all parents really want to know that once their child leaves home, they will be able to take care of themselves. They will look after themselves and be able to make a life for themselves. It is at each parent's fundamental value. You know, they work very hard for such things. The reality is, the only way you know that your child will be able to look after themselves is if you raise them that way and you see the signs early. You'll see it in the teenage years, you'll see it in the preteen years. Actually, ngwana mina can stand on his own. She can make her own decisions. She can take responsibility. So by the time it comes to selecting or choosing a career going forward, whatever that child presents to the parent has weight because they've already seen examples of them looking after themselves.
Those are the top 3 things. So we'll upload those on all our social media pages just so that you can refer back to them. I'm going to bring Andile back to close off the episode. I have challenged him to give us fathers advice on how to relate to young people, something that he says he's never done before, and to give his peers advice based on his experiences. Now, as a young person, speaking to fathers directly now, I think you mentioned it a bit earlier. What is your message to fathers right now in relation to their sons specifically? What do they need to be aware of? What they need to be conscious of? How can they be better fathers? I know that you lost your dad when you were young, at 7, but you say you still remember him and he was there. He had a positive impact on you. But just looking at it, and you spoke about some of your mates, you can see their fathers are there but not there. So what do we as fathers need to be aware of and actually just do better?
This feels weird, man, because now I'm giving advice to like 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
What? It's crazy. But I would say just be present. And when I say be present, I don't just mean be there, but like be aware of certain things. Talk to your son. Are we talking about like son
specifically?
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk to your son. I feel like the one thing that we're taught from a young age is to keep it all inside. Whatever you're going through, keep it inside. Be a man, just thug it out. But I think that that's not okay, right? With what I was going through in Cape Town, I kept it in. And had I just spoken out sooner, perhaps a solution could have been found.
Yeah.
Perhaps there could have been a way for me to transfer into a different degree while I was still there, certain solutions that I could have come to if I had just opened up, to father figures in my life like yourself. It only takes one phone call, right? But because of the school I went to, the culture in the boarding house and everything, you just have to be tough. You have to be a man, and you mustn't speak about how you're feeling, any emotions. And I feel like we need to break down those walls. So for fathers listening, I feel that you just need to be present. Take some time to really talk to your son.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the conversations that we have at home are very surface level, right? Because we live with each other. We don't feel the need to actually have a conversation. So we'll wake up and be like, hi, how are you? Good on you? Are you hungry? Did you sleep well? Things that matter but don't really matter, Ask him how's it going at school. Ask him if there's any issues. Ask him about girls in his life, small things that creates that bridge that I can talk to my dad anytime that I need to, anytime that I have a problem, Don't make that the mother's job to speak about all things emotional, all things that have nothing to do with sports and mainstream things that we talk about that don't really matter. Yeah.
Okay. And did you No, when you were there in school, did you see that? Like, is it still even with modern day fathers, and by modern day I just mean like my age, that fathers were more interested in just like maybe just the sports side of things, and mothers were still the ones doing the pickup, the school runs, the cooking, what.
Absolutely. So, like you said, my father passed on at a young age, and I always viewed him as my hero, right? So, I had a certain standard for how that should be, and I assumed wrongly that every father is that for their son. But as we grow older and we start to see these things, we start, seeing life for what it is. I realized a lot of my friends don't have fathers who are present, fathers that actually provide and care for them, like in the most basic ways. I mean, when I say provide, I don't mean money.
Yeah, just be there.
Yeah, I really mean just being present and listening to your son. A lot of my friends don't even have good relationships with their fathers now.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's just the main thing that I've seen with my friends. It's just their fathers are not present, man, and it's quite sad to see.
Sure. Okay. And then in closing, now you're a 20-year-old, so you're now you're speaking to young people,
Okay.
your age and younger. What's your message for them?
Based on my experience and what I've just gone through, I just want to tell you that it's okay to restart, to start again as many times as you need to. Start over. We are young. We have the time to do that, Some people are in their 40s, in their late 30s, maybe. I'm not throwing any shade here, but perhaps they feel stuck in whatever situation.
Oh no,
they're in.
there's a ton of them.
You see, they have to provide, so they can't quit their job, and they can't, they don't have as much space to try as many things and see what their interests are, what could make them happiest in life. And we have that opportunity. The reason I was able to be like, okay, let me take a step back and, evaluate everything before I come back is because I'm young. I made this decision early this year, before I had even turned 20, still 19. But I'm thinking that I have the rest of my life, even if I get my qualifications, my degree, whatever, at 28, 29, that's okay. As long as I figured it out, and then I get it right for myself. Do it for yourself, not your family, not whoever else has expectations for you. Do it for yourself.
It's awesome, man. It's a great place to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me once again, man.
Cool, brother. I appreciate your time, Oz, and I appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Sharp. Thank you for streaming and listening to episode 1, season 3 of The Timers Playbook. Thank you to my guest, Andile Tshabalala. Thank you to Tessa Pule for her contribution. That is my wife. Our sign designer, Nati Ngubeni. Thank you to him also for putting everything together. Again, I'll see you on the next episode. Really appreciate your support. Sharp.
That was the Timers Playbook. Thank you for listening. See you on the next episode. Sharp.